hello, and welcome to the Remote Producer Show. What we're talking about today is going to be how you can earn revenue as a producer and all the career paths within that. Welcome to the show. Jump in the chat if you're hanging here this morning. I see Gabe's already rocking and rolling. Good to see you, brother. Robert Berry, recurring local legend here. You're making a reputation here, brother. Good to see you. So those of you that are tapping in on the replay, still jump in the comments, still share anything you want. But the actual presentation will be starting here in a minute or so. Welcome to the show, Jackie Majida. All of you guys, Andrew Bennett in the building. Welcome, brother. You guys, what we're going to be talking about today, super critical stuff. We're going to be tapping into producer and career paths, how you can actually earn that money, earn some money from becoming a pro producer in special context, whether it's as an employee, an entrepreneur, or everything in between. We have options that are going to work for you. So jump in the chat here if you're hanging with us today. I think we got this room loaded up. Robert Berry has warmed it up here for us. Today we're going to be tapping into the producer career paths, and would love to share all of the intel I've got from my world, because learning how to produce has literally changed my life and business in phenomenal ways. So we're going to be going into the paths and lanes that you can take to become a producer, or learn how production can help your company, your clients, or even if you just want to take this stuff we're talking about today and learn it for yourself as an individual. That's going to be everything we're tapping into today. So the three lanes of what is incoming. I want to re-emphasize over and over throughout this show that this opportunity is quite literally available to everyone. You can jump in and figure this out and apply it in creative ways that will help you grow, either you as an individual or personal brand, if that's where you want to utilize it, or for clients. That's where a lot of people are realizing they don't have to be the person on stream all the time. They can run stuff behind the scenes and still build shows and utilize streaming. So that's what we're jumping into today. These three lanes of how to do that in a freelance context, how to do that as an employee, and then how to do that as an entrepreneur and build a business. So, Chris Hennessy, speaking of, welcome to the party. Chris has been firing up literally everything we're talking about. I saw he's firing up a remote producer business and company. So you guys, if you are here for the journey, you are not alone. This is, we're all in this together, figuring out this technology and this medium. So let's keep it rolling. I see we got plenty of people here in the room. If you're on YouTube and Facebook, drop a quick little comment. Let us know you're here. But I know you're here for the goods. Let's jump into it with the first and most likely context that you can become a producer. And this is as a freelance showrunner. So essentially putting together shows as an individual. And this is where you can run shows as a service or a side hustle, depending on where you're at on the spectrum. So it's very easy to jump into without a massive commitment. Quick hello to thank you to everybody jumping in here. Nick, Majida, Jackie, Chris, Will, Joshua. Thank you guys so much, and everybody else that's been joining us. So we're in the first category of the three lanes that we're going to talk about today, freelance production. And this is going to be really great for any behind the scenes creatives, if you are a creative artist or you love that world building concept, but you don't like the on camera, like, look at me type of stuff, you may thrive as a producer if you can figure out how to be that behind the scenes creative and help other people thrive with their stream and their show. So if that's you, this is going to be very applicable to your world. And then the other type of person that this is really good for is if you're a very techie type. So if you really like working with gear and software and cameras and mics and audio and all this stuff, you're going to have a great time as a producer putting all that stuff together. So that's what we're going to talk about here in the freelance context. And what you'll see here is this is most often work as a contractor. So we're in lane number 1, folks. We're going to be going through all 3 lanes. And this first one here is simply as a mercenary of sorts to jump in as a contractor. So the specific details. Now let's go a little more granular into what exactly you need to do. If this is sounding awesome and you're like, all right, I'm in, what do I do to become a freelance producer? Well, step 1 is join this show every week. That's exactly what we're doing, is helping you become that producer. So every single week, we're going to be building that foundation. And these are the 3 pieces that I currently want you to be aware of. Number 1, you need to build a specific production system and package. You need to have some type of rhythm to everything you're doing. And if you need support in this, you can jump back an episode. Don't do it right now, but we do have a whole entire archive of this exact information of how you can build that production package and sell it as a service. And this is really the key piece that you need to stand out against other producers, the way you put this together. So we went over packages last week, and then next week we'll have a little sneak preview on systems and team building that you can set up. So let's keep it rolling here into the next point here, which is in the freelance context, you are most likely going to be building, setting up, and running multiple shows. This is going to be different than the employee setup that we're going to jump into in a little bit here. Think of if you're the type of person that would rather go all in on one single show or one single thing, or if you like the variety of having multiple clients, having multiple things to work on, then this freelance lane is going to be a good fit for you. And then ultimately, we're talking about that money today. How can you earn that revenue to actually make this all worth it? Pursue it as a real career. And this is the simplest way to start, and we'll go through all of them. But the first piece you need to know is this is usually around earning revenue in a per hour or per episode context. So if that fits your world and all of these pieces are aligned up, you are very likely going to pursue becoming a freelance producer rather than becoming an employee, which is what we're about to jump into next. So as always, y'all, keep the comments coming. I see Ignite Ed, I love the name there, is rocking with us over on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. Anybody that has questions throughout here, please drop them. I'm going to get to them all here at the end. I see Gabe is dropping a ton of questions. Let me get through the main presentation first, and then we will hit all of the Q&A. So we just talked about freelance producers. Lane number 2, let's get it. Employee productions or producer. And now this is very similar, but instead of doing it in a freelance context, you can literally run shows as a traditional old school job. This is straight up my job for this company. I know companies like Dually are hiring for remote producers. There's lots of people that are ahead of the game, and they realize that in order to survive in this war for attention, their company or their brand needs to own a media asset or build a show. And when they make that decision, they need somebody to run that show. And that somebody can very well be you. So in this context, you are very much a traditional old school W-2 employees. You got your benefits and your time off and all of that. So if you need that stability and you need that traditional environment, I guess, in your career, then you might want to pursue being an employee producer, producing for a specific company. And if that sounds more of your lane, let's jump into how exactly you need to do it. And it's usually pretty straightforward. You got to apply for the role. Find the role first. And even better, if you can find who is creating that role, you can have a say in how exactly that show comes to life. So the first thing you'll need to do, which we just went over actually on last week's episode, is having some type of portfolio or a style of your own that makes you recognizable and shows that you're competent in running and building these shows. So do that first, and then apply for an existing role in a company. They are usually called remote producer, showrunner, or executive producer. Occasionally you'll see live stream producer or podcast producer, very specific. But those are what the keywords you're going to want to look for if you need to pursue it as a job. So for those of y'all that are jumping in here a little late, we're going through the 3 lanes that you can monetize being a producer. We went through number 1, freelance, and right now we're in number 2. So hello, Garen. Welcome to the party. Hello, Gabriel. Glad to have you here. All right, let's keep it rolling. So what does this mean if you are an employee producer? Very simple. You're running an internal show or media asset on behalf of the company. So in Dooley's case, they run a show called Fire Talks. It's weekly interviews, high-level guests. So all of that stuff has to be managed and ran by somebody, and they hire literally an employee to do that. It doesn't always have to be freelance. You can pursue this as a traditional job as well. And in this context, another important detail is how exactly do you earn that revenue? And it's in what most people are used to, a traditional salary or wages. So if that sounds like a lane for you, you need that stability. You don't want to have to find clients and doing that ongoing sales thing all the time, then you might thrive as an employee that is a producer within a company. So that may be your lane, lane number 2, folks, but let's keep it rolling onward to the 3rd lane, my personal favorite, with a little bit of bias here. And that is literally building out a business as an entrepreneur and pursuing production as an entrepreneur rather than a freelancer. And in this context, it means you can build out an entire business, a company, and a team underneath a single umbrella. You're not doing this solo as like lane 1 was very much solo, isolated lane. Lane 2 starts to be a little more, you're interacting with team members. Maybe you have a CMO you're reporting to about the show. But this is on the very other end of the spectrum. You're going to need a reliable system, structure, teams. If you are the entrepreneurial type that enjoys building and optimizing businesses, then this is very much going to be your lane. So yeah, I hope you keep all of this in mind throughout the journey, because I want to emphasize over and over, it's not a matter of if you are creative or if you're a producer, it's about finding the right lane for you. So hopefully as we go through these lanes, one of them is resonating with you so far. And yo, DMV Raps in the building. Thank you so much for jumping in here. Kelsey's joining the party. Thanks so much. Let's keep it rolling here. We're talking about the third lane, building a production studio. And in this context, you're operating as an agency, as a company for your clients. Lane 1, you're just operating as a contractor. Lane 2, you are operating as an employee. And in this lane, you're literally building and running a business. So if this is your lane, here's what you need to do. Very similar to what we chatted about last week. You need to set a clear package. What are you truly, at the end of the day, providing? You can't just say, we do live streams or we do podcasts. That's a great start, but get specific and have a clear package that's put together. So for me, I put together a package that was for a weekly live stream. We attach branding and assets, all the graphics and everything to it, and then post-production of 3 videos a week. And that's the package I have. It's super clear, super simple, and it lets people know what do they get when they work with you. And you need to be answering that question very clearly if you want to compete. That's the absolute most critical piece here, is how can you stand out and do this in a creative way? So that leads us perfectly into this second little step here, building a system, process, and team around your productions. This is the most vital piece of this puzzle. If you are serious about building this production company or business or studio, you have to have clean systems and processes that make everything function. This is where I often get pulled back to this machine metaphor, where everything has to be operating in unison with a specific intention. So that's actually what we're going to be going deep into next week, is how to build those exact systems and processes for your productions. But ultimately, the goal here is to be on a rinse and repeat type of setup where you can continuously get a little better every single time. So that's where you need to focus on first, if you're pursuing this final lane we're talking about, the production studio. And then the final piece of here, building a team. Once you understand the systems, the processes, and all of the roles that need to happen based on your production package, now you need to fill that system with the right people. And that's another piece that we're going to be chatting about next week, is all 3 of these: the systems, the processes, and team building. So if you're in the entrepreneurial lane, I do hope you continue this adventure. And then, how does the money come in? How do you actually earn that revenue? In most cases, it's by a monthly retainer. Very similar to how marketing agencies work on monthly retainers, packages like that. You need to figure out what works best for your specific package and then go with value-based pricing to stretch that as far as possible. So that gives you 3 lanes to consider. And now I would love to hear from you guys, which of these 3 lanes is resonating with you the most. We went into number 1, the freelance productions. This was for individuals that want to pursue live streaming as a career, even as a side hustle. A side hustle can turn into an actual business over time. So you don't have to jump in all the way, but I do heavily encourage you to at least consider this first freelance lane where you can start building streams for yourself, friends, and then eventually clients directly. So that's going to be a super critical piece for those of you that want to approach it a little more experimentally or with a little less commitment. You don't have to go all in. Consider this freelance lane. Then we talked about number 2, being a producer as an employee. This is going to be for those of you that are very risk adverse. You don't want to be in the entrepreneurial lane. You don't want to entirely freelance. You want that stability of a job and a company and a team and all of that stuff. You will thrive best as an employee producer, where you're just a showrunner working literally at that company or at that brand. And the alternative here that is a little bit of a wild card, but I do want you to consider it because I've seen it done before, is if you're an employee at a company and this role does not exist, think about how you can frame creating this role within your company, whether you're literally the business owner or you're an executive within the company. Many, many companies and brands and even government organizations are finally catching on to the value of owned media assets. So rather than sending all their resources and people to go be guests on podcasts and shows and everything, they start investing in their own media assets that they own entirely. And that's going to be something that you can do as an executive or as an employee to be the champion within your organization to actually bring that to life and help people see the light. So yeah, if you're interested in that, the employee lane is very much like you. And then the last one we were just chatting about is building out an actual production company, a production business where you're on a rhythm and a system to actually get everything done. And this is going to be best for those of you that want to just continually grow and innovate and bring in and build a team and all of this stuff. That's the part that I've loved. I've been hanging here in this entrepreneurial lane the last year or so after jumping from just a few freelance productions all the way to a complete production studio and production company. And I don't know if you all have caught on to this yet, but you do not need a physical studio or office or expensive location. You can run this from literally anywhere in the world. As long as you have a good, stable connection, thanks to the brilliant technology and software and stuff that's available, I can run shows 100% from a laptop with a web browser anywhere in the world, as long as you have reliable internet connection. Obviously, you need to be able to connect to the internet somehow, but even a couple megabytes upload speed is all you need for a phenomenal stream that you can run professionally. And I know this because I've done it and have had to do this on occasion. So big thanks to the companies and teams behind Restream for developing such an amazing technology and being able to do this literally from anywhere in the world. And they've simplified it so much. So if any of these 3 lanes have been you're even slightly curious about one of them, please jump into Restream at least once. Make your account, sign up, everything. It's super quick and free, just to see how simple this stuff is. See how simple it is. I think a lot of you guys probably think I'm doing all kinds of crazy fancy stuff. I'm just clicking like 2 or 3 buttons over here on Restream Studio. And it very often, with the right strategy and the right setup, it looks amazing. So I wanted to emphasize that real quick because I feel like a lot of people think this is a huge investment. They need to go build out a studio and this and that. And that's really, really not the case at all. So I hope one of these three has resonated with you. And with that being said, we have now entered the recap, rewind, Q&A, ending session freestyle. So if you have any questions or comments, I already see some coming through. Gabe, I think you had a few questions. If you want to re-drop those, or if Jackie or Teresa could hunt those down and re-drop Gabe's questions, I will love you forever because I can't scroll through all these. And Chris is asking a brilliant question. Do you still offer a course for aspiring producers? Bro, you're in it. You're in it, Chris. I'm still gladly would love to work with any individuals one-on-one if you are serious about pursuing this journey. So yes, always happy to help. And what we're doing with this show is essentially exactly what that course wanted to do and needed to do. So this remote producer show, or becoming a remote producer, this is designed for exactly that. So happy to help your journey on a one-on-one basis. We can figure something out there. But as far as a public course, we tried the paid course thing for a while, just didn't feel like the right fit. So we're taking all of that information, repackaging it into this show and making it a 10-unit foundation for you to become a producer. So we switched that paid course into literally this show, and we're in a unit of that course essentially. So if you can stick around week after week after week, you will quite literally have gone through that same exact course. Anyways, so Matthew, I see you hanging over on YouTube. Thanks for joining. DMV Raps still in the building. Here we go. This was technically from Gabe, I believe. Is there a tool or graphic that you can recommend to build pricing to scale as a freelancer? Interesting and big question. So we were talking about value-based pricing. So this is going to go a little bit out of the streaming world, but this is critical if you are serious about pursuing a earning revenue through this. So the theory that I had to switch to was switching from cost-based pricing to value-based pricing. So the mistake most people make is they think, okay, if I'm running a single stream or a single show for an hour, should I make like $50 an hour? That would be cool. What you need to be doing is inverting that equation. Think from the client or the company side. They are desperate for content. They are desperate for attention of any kind on social media and even just the digital realm entirely. So your perspective needs to be how much value does this service provide to them? And that's where it's going to be very specific to your production package that we went into in the prior episode. So when you get a chance to skip through the prior episodes, you'll actually see we had a system for putting together a production package that caters to your specific skill set in a useful way. So that would be my sort of cop-out answer is think of what your package is first, then take it to market and see what is the value that that package or that content or that production is to the client. Not what is the cost on your end of, oh, it only took me 60 minutes to run the show and 30 minutes to run the graphics. So that's like 90 minutes. Let me charge them that. That's great for like freelance and one-off stuff. But if you're building this pricing to scale and to grow a business and be more effective in that freelance category, you need it to be value-based pricing. So no, unfortunately not an answer for that. I would love to help you with that specifically, Gabe, if you're curious. But that's pretty much the lane. You need to work backwards from what they're willing to pay and the solution, your providing. All right, next question. Robert Berry with another gem here. How would you market yourself as a freelance remote producer? Okay, two lanes here to consider. One of which is very traditional, and this would be the context of your stream itself, your show itself is an advertisement. This has been a super like meta thing going on in my world of having like streams about streaming. Is kind of trippy, but it also is marketing myself and my company and my team as experts in certain areas and categories. So what we chatted about last week, Robert, I know you were there, is your portfolio. So that's going to be the first piece, is building out your production portfolio. It can be solo streams with yourself. It can be streams for a guest or with guests, or just crazy experimental stuff. But you need some type of portfolio to show what you do, what you can do, and you can bring to the table. So that's going to be the first foundation. And then bringing that to market, you have to position yourself in a creative and valuable way. Running the show itself is helpful, but more frequently, what you need to be positioning your message as is the pain point you're resolving. You're not just running a show for them. You're essentially building and growing and providing a stash of content for them. So that's the approach that I use, is a lot of the deliverables and the value that they're going to get out of that. And then the time saved. That is the biggest thing that gets people's eyes like lit up, is that once they realize the amount of time they can save with this media system, suddenly they're in a whole new category. So that would be my advice, Robert, is how can you build out your portfolio, work for yourself, work for some friends or high-level influencers for free or at cost if you can, and then build on that as your foundation to bring it to market. And you'll really see that once people see that equation of old school, what I call like the old school content strategy versus this new school content strategy, the time difference is what's most attractive. So if you're working with high level people and influencers, make note of the comparison of, okay, so if you were going the old school strategy, it takes a couple hours to write your script, get everything written, edited, a couple hours to record, get all your lighting and fancy stuff and angles, and depending on how many shots you need, it can take several hours to do that. And then all the editing, all of the video editing to put that together as a video. Some people are investing 10, 20, 30 hours sometimes into a single video. Now, that's the old school strategy compared to the new school strategy, where they show up for 30 to 60 minutes a week on stream, kill it, crush it. If you're doing your job well as a producer, they should have nothing to worry about other than showing up and crushing it on camera. They disappear off the show after that 30, 60 minutes, 1 hour out of their week, and we can provide limitless social content for all platforms they want with that 30 to 60 minutes. That is the value point that people suddenly are way more interested when they realize they can have almost limitless social content for all their platforms, and all they need from them is their time. That's the biggest piece that I would emphasize on your end, Robert, is how you can resolve those pain points and give them back, literally hand back hours of time in their week, and you'll be in. That's by far the best marketing I've seen so far. But we'll gladly share my updates as we continue to progress over the months and years. So if anybody wants to sneak in a final question, there is one more. Wayne, I'll get to this one and we'll sneak out of here, folks. We're One day we'll have a 30-minute show, but today is not that day, apparently. So at this point, what would be the next big step in the industry? I think what we are seeing next is the acceleration of virtual and metaverse worlds, whatever you want to call them. It's so new that we're not even quite sure what to call them. But if I've learned anything from this pandemic situation, it is this: people are desperate for connection. We need connection in so many ways. And when the pandemic hit, we lost a lot of platforms of connection and community and that oneness that we were so used to having. So if we can jump into be ahead of the game of how we can reenact or recreate the next chapter of connectedness in a digital or virtual environment, that's where I see things heading. The most successful pieces, or at least the favorite parts of most live streams, is the interactive stuff. The fact that I can go in here and see that Robert's getting very concerned that I just mentioned the metaverse. And we're going there, brother. We're going there because it's coming whether you want to or not. So my choice is to be ahead of the game. And the mistake I really see a lot of people making is they are trying to duplicate what we used to do in physical environments and just duplicate the same thing in digital. And that's the amateur way of thinking of virtual events or digital events. What we need to be doing is thinking of this streaming and VR and metaverse all as a tool, simply as another tool in our palette. And it's our job as producers to think, how can we create a new experience with this technology? How can we create a better experience with this technology? So the Luddites of this are going to be very attached to conferences and trade shows and all that. There's going to be context for that. Great. But where things are heading in streaming and just content in general is interactive media and interactive experiences that really humanize content and humanize media. That's where I think things are heading. We'll see in a couple of years. I'll have this clip to check back in on and see how right or wrong we were on that. But I think Facebook's transition and investment into Meta is a pretty strong signal of where things are going. Follow the money. Follow the money, folks. Always follow the money. They know what they're doing. So that's where I think it's heading. Would love to hear other people's opinions on this, but that's my assumption, and also gonna be the wrap for this show. So just want to give one more quick little thank you to Restream. As always, these guys have been supporting my journey in a really special way, because I've been quite literally just figuring out Restream and their software and their tools and sharing my lessons like a couple months behind with all of y'all. So hopefully what you guys learned today is at least one lane that you can consider to earn revenue as a producer, whether it is freelance, as an employee, or as an entrepreneur. I would love to support any of those lanes and would love to support your journey, as well as all the brilliant, amazing people here. It's been an awesome time. So this is technically the end of the line, folks. We're going to wrap this one up. Thank you to Jackie and Teresa for supporting me, bringing this show to life. Thank you to Restream once more. Please sign up, make an account, give it a shot. You'll enjoy what's going on under the hood over there. And thank you again for joining the Remote Producer Show.